Good morning, UPBOptionMillionaires.com. It is a Tuesday, February 17th, 2015. Stock futures are just about to Friday's highs. Look at this, all-time record highs. We pulled back over the weekend. Greece did not come to an agreement with the massive debt they have, but the market's telling you this is going to get resolved. And look at this move possibly to record highs here again on Tuesday. If you look also, U.S. dollars pulling back a little bit. Something to keep an eye on here. Look at that decline here, almost down over 1/3% after hitting record highs. Earlier this year, the bond market, let's look at 30-year Treasury bond futures, and you can see that is pulling back as well. Higher interest rates are going to affect some stocks going forward. We'll get into that in a little bit. But let's look at the Twitter. I brought this up at the start of the year in January. I said it was going to break over 40, and indeed, post-earnings it has. It looks like it's going to continue that breakout. Look at the gap. It's going to fill the gap down from the previous earnings decline. We hit a low of $35. Found support here. I've been talking about this for a while. And look at from a chart perspective here, higher lows and higher highs. We finally broke through long-term trendline resistance on the earnings report, and I think Twitter is just one of those stocks that I think is going to head another 100% from here in this current market environment where the Federal Reserve and every other central bank is forcing you into risky assets. We're looking for a flagging pattern here, move up to 60, 75, and possibly $100. Yeah, call me crazy. Called that last year also in May of 2013 with Apple when it was at its lows, pulling back from its highs. Down here, put in a nice W bottom. I said the stock was going to hit new all-time record highs. Nobody believed me. I did a video on OptionMillionaires.com. And look at this. Look at a recent spike up just last week alone to new all-time record highs. All of these continuation patterns work exceedingly well for Apple. So we're looking possibly for some consolidation here, ultimately moving up over $130. Also talked about at the start of this year, just before the start of the year, Google breaking out to new all-time record highs. You can see where we are right now. We are in this channel consolidating after trying to break out two previous times in 2014. Pulling from a closer chart perspective, you see how important it is to break this 550 level. We're right at it. If we can break above it, this is going to bode well in the short and medium term for Google. $600 is coming. One of those stocks a couple years ago, you can get an option contract for a quarter on Monday and sell it for $25 5 days later. And so when you get that kind of potential move, which we could be seeing here, the 580s, 585s, 590s, we'll see if that happens this week for Google. Let's look at FEYE. We have a big hack coming out this weekend talking about the banks losing $1 billion plus from hackers. This is a stock I talked about to start 2015. This is a stock to own. So there we were, started 2015, and here we are now looking at that $47 as a point of interest as far as resistance is concerned. Earnings report launched it. Look at the volume, record volume breakout. This is bullish for a stock that is heavily shorted, that nobody really believes in until now. Once we see the short start to cover, this is going to break out above this line, 60. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see that 47.50 line break first. Just something to keep an eye on. Some stocks I am actually short, trading for downside, which is almost grab a rope and hang yourself type of environment here in this market at record highs. But Simon Property Group, to me, this looks like one breakdown, another breakdown, a consolidation, or a bear flag, not a bull flag. We're consolidating here for a move down to the 185 level. I think a good chance it's going to happen this week. And then ultimately down to 165. A lot of it's going to have to do with rising interest rates, even though the Federal Reserve is not raising interest rates. I think they're going to start to creep higher. We're seeing that with TLT. The 20-year bond treasury fund's going to get down to 27.50. If it breaks that, next support's at about 118, but that's going to take a little while to get to. You can see the parabolic move we had to start the year. The start of 2015, at the end of 2014, I said look for TLT to hit 140. We got to 139 and change. Have been since pulling back. Let's look at Boston Properties. I'm also in the puts here. Some sort of a diamond topping formation. Again, looking for a decline. We have some unusual option trades in this name over the last week and a half. The 125 level for the March puts, which is about 5 weeks away, is something to keep an eye on. So a move down here, we'd be looking at almost a $17 move. To make any money on those, they're about 50 cents right now. Let's look at Home Depot. Breaking to new all-time record highs. I joke around the fact that we're going to need a lot of construction adhesive and silicone to keep the Greek economy going, to keep it together. But you can see it's just tough. I traded for a pullback last week, but in the midst of this incredibly bullish breakout, it's tough to try and find a top here. At some point, the stock will top, and it's going to fall back under $100. Going to be lucrative, but it's tough to sit there and every day look at it and say, oh, it's going to pull back here. Let me get into some puts. Let me just get this out of here because that doesn't belong. But if you look, this is Priceline. Didn't mean to do that either. If you look at Priceline, right bumping up long-term trend line support was support back in the end of 2013, the middle of 2014, broke through it. And now it's coming back up to it here in 2015. So let's look a little closer. You can see it come up 1110 level. If we could break above it, that'll bring the 1265 level into focus for Priceline. Pretty much, let me just pull up the indicators here. Yeah, we're getting pretty overbought here in the short term. So it just might be a time to sit back and wait. Maybe it'll pull back, fill this gap here from the last couple days last week, and then finally make a big move to the upside to 1260. Let's look at the NASDAQ because this is broken out of a long-term consolidation phase heading back to last November. And you can see the breakout. I talked about this in Stock Twits even before the breakout occurred. Once we broke this level, that was a key indicator that the market was going to head higher. And if you look going back, I mean, we're approaching levels we haven't seen in a long time. Look back to the internet bubble back in 2000. This has been more of a mundane, boring rise compared to the bubble back in 2000. But look at this breakout. I mean, we could get up to 110 here before we start to see any kind of meaningful consolidation. All right, UPB here, OptionMillionaires.com. We have earnings reports, Fossil. We have Rax, Garmin. Let's pull up a chart real quick. I haven't looked at this one in a while, but I'm looking for downside here for Garmin. Let's look at Solar City. We have Solar City. This is after the bell, I believe, on Wednesday. Solar City is broken through long-term trend line support. We'll see what happens here. We also have Crocs, Six Flags, LNCO, and LINE, some of these energy-related shares, which we'll get into, obviously. That's just not what a pull-up for me this morning. All right, I'll see you in the chat room, the best chat room, Option Millionaires, option trading chat room out there. Stop by, see what we're trading, see what's going on, and everyone have a great trading session. It's the start of the week, a 4-day trading week, and it's shaping up to be a real interesting one here. Take care. I'll see you in the chat room. Goodbye.